when we decided to do the 75th anniversary, some of us took it upon ourselves a couple of months ago to start looking at the very long history of this congregation. It started all the way back in 1948, and I'll do my best to bring you through this fairly quickly just to give you a summary, and you'll see some of the people that have been very important in this work, including Brother Charles. So there's a building up on Orange Avenue. It's still there. It was the picture that we had at the beginning. And this is the original building. Sister Lois Babbitt, who's Dwayne's mother, began work on the history of this congregation around the 50th anniversary. And she's no longer with us, but what an amazing lady. And the Babbitt family has been here for so long, some of the original folks that were around in those days. But she started this out this way. The Church of Christ has its origin in the promise of Jesus, "I will build my church." We stand firmly in the belief that the Bible is the inspired Word of God and is the only standard that the church must be guided by today. We have no higher authority than Jesus. The teaching of all men, whether they are a minister or elder, must be confirmed by the inspired words found in the Bible. We believe in an open spirit of inquiry where every question demands an honest answer, and the Bible is accepted as God's final word on all questions. Isn't that a great way to start? Amen. The Lord's Church at Pine Castle began in December 1948 when a group of about 14 dedicated Christians held a tent meeting at the corner of Hofter and Orange Avenue. I am the direct result, not of that one, but of a tent meeting. And I can tell you how powerful that can be. I was baptized this Sunday after a tent meeting many years ago. The meeting was conducted by Brother L.B. Chastain. Brother Chastain lived in Ocoee, Florida, and is actually buried there. He lived to be 93 years old. That was in 2017 that he passed, not that long ago. At the close of the meeting, the church began meeting in the Pine Castle Women's Club building on Orange Avenue. Sister Lois remembered that T.S. Tyler and Della Craig started the congregation. Some of the earliest members included the Craigs, Jack and Clara Eubanks, Newell and Mary Lou Banta, the Carrs, Robert and Florine Johnston, B. Eubanks Heath, Lois Elizabeth Eubanks Babbitt, and Joyce, her baby daughter. That's Dwayne's sister. In 1949, property was bought on Orange Avenue in Pine Castle, and a small building was erected. As I said before, that building is still there. And what's in that building right now?
Primo's Catering.
Primo's Catering is doing business in that building even to this day. Brother Chastain continued to work with the congregation for about a year and a half, preaching on Sundays twice a month. On the Sundays Brother Chastain wasn't there, young men from the Florida Christian College came and preached. Among these men were brothers Arvid McGuire, John Clark, Melvin Curry, Rex Smith, Lawton Wallace, Farrell Jenkins, Maurice Nethery, and Tom Turner. Also a couple of brothers from the Mount Dora Christian Home, Elmo Hazelwood, and Horace Hartzell. The first full-time minister was Brother Arlen Kurse, who worked with the congregation during parts of 1957 and 58. A home for the minister was also bought at this time on Fillmore Street. Now some of the pictures here, I don't want you to miss this, brothers and sisters. See if I can make this work. That's Dwayne Babbitt. Yeah. You probably remember him, don't you? Yes. And I think we can go ahead and go to the next slide. There's several pictures here, several children pictured outside the building. At the top of this, in the window, that's Paul Eubanks. And Paul returned here later to be a part-time minister and then the full-time minister. And we'll see a little bit more of him in a little while. Next picture, maybe. Yes, in 1959, property was bought on this location, and what you're looking at right now is the building that is right behind us on the other side of the foyer. This building, notice there's nothing to the right. There are windows going down the side. And I'm sure Brother Wright remembers this building well. Okay, next one. This is a picture from an old bulletin, and this is the interior of the room that you just ate your meal in. That's what it looked like. And I always found it quite interesting. In the hallway where we go to the restrooms now, ladies and gentlemen, on either side, that's where the baptistry was located, right back in there in that floor space. Next slide. The first service at the new building, and that was the building behind us, was on Mother's Day, 1960. Brother Bill Hunt had been preaching at the location on Orange Avenue and continued working at the new building until sometime in 1961. He was followed by John Beasley from 61 to 64 and Steve Kepley from 64 to 66. Then there will be no surprise who shows up next. I told you, brother, I had a great picture of him. Looks just like him, hadn't changed much. In September 1966, Brother Charles Wright began work with the church and continued until 1978. The church grew, and on April 11th, 1971, had a record attendance of 291. With these crowded conditions, the decision was made to have two services, and eventually a new building was erected in the summer of 1978. That's the building you're sitting in right now. All this stuff happened during Charles's time here. Open house for the new building was held on December 3rd, 1978, with an attendance of 289. About this time, Brother Wright went to the Kissimmee congregation to work, and in the intervening years, several godly men filled the pulpit. There is a complete list of those available to each and every one of you on a PDF that is on our website. I was in hopes that I would be able to print this document for you all, but it was about 80 cents a page to do this in color and to get these pictures correct. So I think it would be better for you to go to the website and download it. In June 1989, just as I spoke of earlier, Brother Paul Eubanks returned and began part-time work with the congregation. He eventually assumed full-time responsibilities in December of 1989. Aha, looky there. Glenn Newton became the minister in July 1998. In December of that year, the congregation celebrated their 50th anniversary. And as a sideline to that, Paul Eubanks is the one did the, actually they had a gospel meeting, and I was there for that. And it's really one of the first times I've met Brother Paul, maybe just in passing, but it was fantastic to be here. I think it was wonderful, but wow, today has just got me awed. I'm just amazed at how much you guys have emotionally affected me and spiritually just fed me today. Okay, so there's Brother Newton, and I've asked him to come back, or he and I to confer with one another. I want to get the highlights of when he was here. He was here for 3 years, and we definitely want to mention that part of his work that happened while he was here was the Haitians came and asked for a place to worship. And that was key to so many of our brethren that are part of this work today. It's absolutely awesome. Okay, what's next? In 1998, now I've got to preface this by saying Claudette sent me this picture. And he's obviously sitting, looks like in a booth at a restaurant, is what it looks like. But if you know how hard this man works, you'll understand the look on his face, I think. In 1998, a group of brethren from Haiti approached the congregation looking for a place to hold worship services in French Creole. Now, at the time, I will tell you, we didn't really know what we'd said yes to, but we knew we couldn't say no. They are our brothers in that they came to us with a request, and of this group, notice it's right there. group's first minister was Miguel Jadis, and that's Roans and Chenolles and Princesses and Woodlands and Claire. That's their daddy. And he was the first minister here for the Haitian ministry. Then Miguel was followed by Serge's minister. And Serge, I say here on this, was currently in Haiti. Well, actually, he just returned yesterday, and he's here with us. And so it's good to have him back with us. He's working on establishing a new congregation in Haiti, which we're always excited about. Still a wonderful work there. The early 2000s were productive years of the congregation. Bill Weaver served as the minister for 10 years, helped the congregation get deeply involved in the work at the Central Florida Bible Camp. And I can't say enough about what's written next. Some of you youth, went to that Bible camp, and now you are the counselors and the leaders and the ones doing the work. Now, just to show those what an impact that has made, will you stand if you were ever a camper or you've worked with the camp recently? Any of you all that have been involved in the camp? That's just a cross-section of the ones that have been there and are still faithful to the Lord's Word, because they've spread out all over Florida. They're almost all over places. I mean, everywhere you go now, you're going to meet somebody that had something to do with that camp when there's a camper or they're working it now. And so, to me, that's a great tribute for Bill's work, is he saw that as something important, and I still think it's one of the best things on earth. I really do. And Bill is still involved in that work. Jay is involved in that work, and Bill's right behind him. I don't know if Bill's got a stick and he's going like this, going to do that, or what he's doing, but he's being successful moving Jay in the direction he needs to go. Okay, next slide. Today, the Haitian Brethren have several capable men to lead in their worship services. Among them is Alex Antonor. And Brother Alex, for those that are visiting that might not have met you, is Alex in here right now somewhere? Oh, there he is, right there. And I mentioned this to Glenn Newton as he was leaving today. He is the first of our Haitian brethren to become an elder here. And that happened last year. And we are thrilled to have him. He is a worker. He's really special. And his whole family. Okay, any of you all that know anything about the eldership know that that's a necessity. You've got to have an amazing wife and super special kids. Next slide. Brother Weaver left to be the minister of Pompano Beach Church of Christ, and when we were looking for somebody, would you believe that one of the names that came right out of Bill Weaver's mouth was, hey, Nathan's available. And Nathan Wheeler was selected to be the next minister, and he and his family worked with the congregation for 7 years. And some of you all that have all been here during those years were like, whoo, where did all that time go? That was so quick and so fast, but so precious. And I know that we've got some proud grandparents in this room that are thrilled to have Cheryl and the 4 girls with us today. And as I said earlier, we'll have a short message, less than a minute, from Nathan here in just a minute. Next. Dan is now our minister, and he's been with us, Dan, what, 4 or 5 years almost now? Seems like it. And we have got a lot of stuff going on, lots of future plans, and even in this document, I sort of alluded to something that's been on my heart for a number of years, and I try to mention to everybody I can that are movers and shakers, and that is that this neighborhood has turned over in this 75 years. Originally, when this congregation started, this was basically an English-speaking congregation of mostly white brethren. Today, look at this room. We look like an international congregation. We're from everywhere. And such a blessing. People that have never worshiped with a congregation like this up north, folks, they don't even know that this exists, okay? And so they come here and they walk in and they're so amazed. They look at it and they say, what a loving group of people. And that's the reputation that we want to continue to have in this neighborhood. Amen. Well, the neighborhood now is mostly Spanish speaking. In the days when this started here, it was English speakers. But now we've got to find a way to reach them. And so I mentioned to Glenn Newton, and he said, well, they're actually working with some projects with Herald of Truth to try to help us maybe get something going with the Spanish ministry. We have people that are sitting within the sound of my voice that I have targeted as people to help us in this work. If you're bilingual, Spanish and English, or Spanish and Haitian, I want to talk to you. Okay? We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a neighborhood to evangelize right now. And we've just got to, kind of what Glenn said earlier, we've got to embrace what God's given us. And that's what it is. Bill will even be able to attest to the fact that we go out in this neighborhood, we knock on doors and say, well, I'm Hispanic. Anybody over there can teach me anything. And we were like, we can't, but we'd send them to Concord Street in hopes that somebody would. But the reality is they couldn't get to Concord Street. Their transportation didn't have it. But we're right here. They can walk to this building. So I'm hopeful, and I hope that our brethren and you will pray for that. And anyone that you can help us figure out how to do that work and get it going soon, please send them my way. Okay, next. This is a list of the ministers that have served here in this place, starting all the way back to 1948. And you're going to see on this list a man named Don Stidham. Don was here for a short period of time, and I think from my experience now, I'm thinking he was probably a part-timer. But Don has written a book. He was not able to be with us today, but reached out to Dwayne a couple of months ago and said, hey, I've written a book. Would you guys like to have some copies or use it? And it's called Nocturnal Contemplations. And what it's about is in the evening he couldn't sleep. But he's a gifted writer. He's a poet. He can actually put things on paper, and they're all amazing to hear. And I'm just going to share one with you. It's one of the first ones in this book. It sounds like this. He calls this prelude, Nocturnal Contemplations number 1. There is a place set apart deep within my heart where Satan cannot stay. My peace and my joy he cannot destroy, nor take my song away. 'Tis a place where God from above in his abundant love communes and talks with me, making known his will with my heart to fill and what he wants me to be. How is his voice heard? Through his holy word, the Bible, his book, you see. His own words are there that tell of his care and of his Son who died for me. That's special. And it's really, the entire book is that good. And I'm told that you can get this. I think I got this copy from Dwayne, but I think you can also get it from Amazon. If anybody wants to take a look at it later on, I'll be glad to share. It's one of our brothers. And I understand also that Glenn Newton has written about 10 books himself, so he didn't mention them, but they're out there. And then the next slide continues. Yes, and then you see this very extensive list of individuals that have worked with us. And isn't it interesting how the least information that I could find are on the 3 guys that were the most recently with us. We were looking into records, trying to figure out exact days and times and so on, and just nailing it down has been a problem. So Bill, if you can fill in the gaps for us, and then I'm going to work with Nathan to see if I can find out exactly when they did come. But that's our ministers. And then the next page is a list of the elders that have served here. Now, isn't it interesting looking at this list? How few in 75 years. This is the reason why I continue to plead with our young men and our young ladies to search out a godly spouse. If you don't do it, you can never hope to fulfill this important role in the church. We can't do this without elders. And we really need you to think about the future. Think about it long term, how you might serve. And I will say this, just like all the rest of the ministers have mentioned today, there have been tears of both joy and sadness, but it's all been good to his glory. Okay? He's always blessed me. So if you want a life of blessing, please consider marry well, raise believing children, and serve. This is all the way to the last breath. Next slide. Do you know this man? Okay. December 2022, he just passed away. Of the 75 years of this congregation, he served 49 years as an elder in this place. And I want to tell you something privately that you may not know. Brother Lloyd approached me several months before his passing, and he said, I think it's time for me to retire. And you know what I told him? I don't think you retire from this. I think this is all the way to the last breath. And you know that he goes, well, I think you're right. I said, your wisdom and your patience and the things that we can continue to learn from you, your mind is perfect. Your body's failing you, but your mind's perfect. Amen. And he continued to participate on meetings with us through the phone and any way that we could to share information about the work in the congregation. And it was all the way to the last breath. This is a special, special man, and if you didn't get to meet him, I'm sorry. He was a blessing. I was able to serve over 20 years with him. And Glenn, how long did you all serve?
About the same.
Yeah, I think you were like early 90s, late 80s, something like that. So a bunch of years that we spent with this man. And I never saw anybody wiser. Never been in a place that I thought there was anybody any sharper than Lloyd was. She's a blessing. And the next. There we are. We're sitting in this building right now. This is a scene from Lancaster recently. This is from the special thing called Google Earth, I think is what that is. So you can kind of go on there and see this building from all kinds of different directions. And the next. This history project was a joint effort. It's taken a long time to pull together, but we're still working on it. So you can see what we're working on the PDF on the website now. Sister Lois, God bless her, she was a lady of words and so good, and so much of what she wrote is still so valid and important today. Between her and her sister, Ann Sloan, and some of the others, I'm telling you, they kept us all on our toes, and we've talked about that today. If they felt like we were out of line or didn't do something right, they met us at the back. Does that sound about right, Charles? I'm not sure you can hear me very well. But anyway, then Dwayne took it upon himself to jump in there after Mama, and then I've done some work with it as well. So the PDF's up there for you if you want to look at it. Next slide. I think we're there. And so now what I need you to do is go find Nathan. He's on the desktop over there. And we're going to get a message from Brother Nathan.
Happy anniversary, Vine Castle. Oh, you guys look fantastic.
Let's do it again. Have they got vision or not? You might have to get rid of the PowerPoint to get it up. Yeah. All right. Take her back. Okay.
Happy anniversary, Vine Castle. Oh, you guys look fantastic for 75. I want you to know how much I love you and how much I miss you. And I wish I could be there with you to celebrate in person, but sending my family, which is probably better. But in the meantime, thank you so much for all the memories, for the love you showed me, my family, for all the encouragement and the fellowship we have in Christ, for the ways that we love God and love other people. Just keep doing that. And I look forward to hearing more and more things about how the Lord's working there. So in the meantime, God bless you. Continue to grow in the truth of God's grace. And I will see you soon, Lord willing. Love you.
That's special. Miss him a lot. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to end my portion. But what Brother Dan and I had discussed was, if there's a remembrance that you'd like to share, we're going to invite you just to kind of raise your hand, and we'll ask you to stand up. We'll try to do the best we can with this microphone, but it's kind of going in and out on us. We've got a wireless that we're walking around with. But if you've got something you'd like to share with the group, something that happened that you would like to share as a memory, we're going to give you just a moment or two to do that. And then after that portion, we'll go into our worship service.